Charlie, I'll come to you first on this. Would it be so bad if guys like Pulisic, McKennie, or Dest are third or fourth on the club depth chart? It saves them from overuse and risk of injury ahead of a World Cup, but they can't really keep their form in the same type of way. What are your thoughts on this question?
No. You want your players playing. You want them. I appreciate them taking the time to ask that question, but you want your players playing. At the end of the day, this is 5 months, and you want to be as sharp as you can be, as confident as you can be, and no one's going to be happy, sharp, or confident if they're the third, fourth option, because by the time you get into World Cup camp, it goes from 0 to 1,000. And by the time the matches start, you're going to be gasping for air after 10 minutes because you haven't built yourself up for this type of competition. And forget about the weather. I mean, it's going to be super hot. These guys are going to be looking for water breaks, any type of break that you can get. And while players who haven't been playing for 5 months, and that's why it's so important to put yourself in the best club situation heading up to the World Cup, so that you have sharpness, that you have form and fitness, and the confidence part is massive. If you're balling out with your club, then that's going to translate well with the national team. So I really hope that we're at a point come World Cup camp that all of our players, even the ones who aren't starting, the role players, are playing consistently with their club, because we know we're going to have to depend on them at some point.
Okay, here's another question then, kind of in the same vein. I'll throw this one to you, Heath, from Addie Joseph, our friend at CBS. Is there a case for Pulisic to start over Raheem Sterling, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz? And if not, should he accept a backup/rotation role or try to leave? What do you say to that? And then I'll follow up with my thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the answer to the question. Is like, we just saw Pulisic as the number 3 winger at Chelsea, and no one was happy about it. Christian Pulisic's not happy about it. And even though he's still playing 30, 40 games in a year, which, 10 years ago we would have been ecstatic about and built a statue of him somewhere around the US, it's not what we want or need for our young crop of players. And he's a player still very much in his development, with still a long ways to go before reaching his max. And so I think he shouldn't settle into that. Now, being a rotational player, an actual rotational player as opposed to a backup, I think is a subtle difference. And so if that's the case, he's going to get plenty of games. I think he'll be in great form going into a World Cup, but that's a lot harder because of the way Chelsea built that attacking lineup. And now that you add Sterling to that, it's becoming much more complicated to getting him onto the field. So I think he should try to leave. Whether he can or not is to be determined. But previous to that, I think he would have been fine. But for other players, it's not as easy. It wasn't a bunch of young players all around the same age being signed at a club like Chelsea has and rotating them because of lack of consistency, because of form, because of whatever. That's not going to be the same for a Tyler Adams. That's not going to be the same for Weston McKennie in some of these situations. You're going to find, you might rotate occasionally, but yeah.
Could I add something? Because I'm seeing Christopher Walken, who is a regular here, and I appreciate you tuning in all the time. He said form is overrated. It's a hot take, and that given some of the players that we have, regardless if they're playing or not, they will start. And to a point, yes, Christian Pulisic is going to be starting for us, regardless if he's option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4 at Chelsea. He will be playing. And it's the same thing as Landon Donovan in his prime, the same thing as Clint Dempsey in his prime. They will be playing for the U.S. men's national team and starting. Weston McKennie also in that bucket. But does that mean they're going to be good? Are they going to be in the best possible form and position and fitness to help this team win? No, not at all. I will say, outside of, let's say, the big 5 players in this team, if they're not playing, they will not start. That's the truth of it. If they aren't in form, if they're not playing, they will not play. So I think to a certain extent, guys are going to get I guess the leniency with Greg Berhalter.
So what I would want us to explore a little bit, I want your guys' thoughts and anybody else that's listening, watching, with regard to Pulisic. I wonder at this point in the transfer window where teams are starting to settle in to their identities, coaches are working on team shape, how they want to move as a group, all that type of stuff. That's what preseason is for. Very important component of it. If Christian Witten moves somewhere else, whether it's within England, which I don't see happening with Chelsea, or maybe he goes to Spain, Italy, wherever he wants to go, would it benefit him at this point? I feel like he just needs to stick it out at Chelsea. He knows what's expected out of him. He's going to fight for minutes. And that alone, I think, will keep him relatively sharp. Whether we like it or not, we want him to start and be the guy. It's probably not going to happen under Tuchel. That's already been proven. But if he left now and had to adopt a new system and have to, I don't know. I just don't know if that's in his benefit leading into a World Cup. Now, leading into it, like say he stays at Chelsea, January transfer window after the World Cup, dude, you're like, I'm out. I don't care if an American owns the team now. I don't give a shit about any of that. Like, I got to get out of here. I can't play for Tuchel anymore. But I think he's got to be a good soldier leading up to that, because I just don't know if leaving is going to solve that problem and actually make him any better. The grass might feel greener in this particular situation with him, but I actually think he should stay. Heath, what do you think about, like, as we kind of extrapolate what that would mean if he did leave?
Yeah, it's tough. Because circumstantially, there's only so many clubs that can pay the wage, that can pay the transfer, that can do the things. Maybe there's a loan deal somewhere out there for him, but we know Christian Pulisic needs to settle in. He needs to have a little bit of some sort of motivation, and I feel like he was motivated by being a teenager breaking into a first team at Dortmund, and now he's in a situation where there's just a cycle of players that are high level and hasn't earned the trust or respect that we thought he had gotten under Tuchel at Dortmund. But it is, like you said, Jimmy, it's a tough situation to leave or transition from in the short window that he's going to have to find his form in a new place, in a new team, in a new system, that maybe it is better to stay for the short term. But I'd still be exploring those options for sure at this point. And if you're Christian Pulisic, you don't really care that an American owns the club. It's not really going to get you anything. The club might get something out of that.
But I think I think that's a handcuff in some ways, because they don't want to lose their most prized American asset. Charlie, what do you say?
Yeah, it is. I mean, at the end of the day, you have an American owner. You're not just letting your best American talent go, and Captain America on top of that. Also, he has proven that at times he's looked like the best attacking player Chelsea have. So you still have hope and faith that he will get there. The problem is they brought in Raheem Sterling. They have Mason Mount. He's not playing over those two. That's just they're England internationals. You're at Chelsea. You're not playing over them. So you have to hope that you get a good run of form. You're coming in as a substitute. There's rotation, and you perform. And Thomas Tuchel goes, okay, yes, Christian has finally gotten over the hump. He stays injury free, but ultimately it's a very difficult place to break in and be the number one starter day in and day out. So I think for Christian, it's control what you can control. And if you stay injury free and you're focused, you're going to shine. We all know we've seen him shine, and we just hope that the next 5 months he plays with that chip on his shoulder, which he usually does. And he just takes over at Chelsea and performs. And, coming into the World Cup, he's hot, he's confident. And then he holds the power.